Do you know that you can improve your relationship by improving your conversation strategy? My name is Dari Trojaye. Welcome to this YouTube channel. Please subscribe, like, and share this video. Today, we're going to be talking about 10x conversation. Now, conversation is a two-way communication involving sharing of thoughts, opinions, and ideas between two or more people. According to Charles Duhigg, in his book, Supercommunicators, How to Unlock the Secret Language of Connection, says that conversation is a negotiation. And I totally agree with him. So if you take conversation as a negotiation, I believe that you will be able to improve on your conversation strategy. Now, what is negotiation? Negotiation is simply the process where two or more parties are involved in discussion and agreement of terms. And by improving your conversation strategy, you can have more dialogue, more meaningful dialogue with people, because life is about communication. To communicate, you need to connect. Without connecting with the person you are talking with or discussing with, you cannot reach an agreement. Therefore, conversation requires connection, and connection with people requires synchronization of the mind. When you are able to synchronize the mind with the person you are discussing with, you will be able to have connection. Because without connection, there is no conversation. And this is what is lacking in most conversation, especially with spouse, especially with your family, especially with friends, especially with colleagues at work. If you don't see conversation as negotiation, then you will keep having issues with reaching agreements and terms. Guess what? Mind synchronization does not happen until you ask questions. So by asking questions, you are able to synchronize the mind. Question and answer synchronizes the mind. Because in negotiation, asking questions is ideal. And that is the best way to synchronize the mind with the person you are communicating with. With your wife, when you're communicating with your wife, asking questions is the best way to communicate, to synchronize the mind, to connect with your spouse, to connect with your friends. Now, when you are asking questions, you need to understand that your questions should be open-ended, not closed-ended questions. Because closed-ended questions do not allow the mind to think. So, for instance, if I ask you, how are you? Of course, your definite answer would be, I am fine, or I am not fine, or otherwise. Just short answers, because the question is closed-ended. But when you ask open-ended questions, like, what did you enjoy at work today? What do you like about your day? Open-ended questions will allow the person you are discussing with to first of all think. When you are able to get your partner to think, or the person you are discussing with to think about the answer to give, then you can begin to synchronize the mind. Good conversations are lacking at work. Good conversations are lacking at home. Good conversations are lacking between lecturers and students. Good conversations are lacking between husbands and wife. The job of a CIA field officer is to connect with people in such a way that they can have, at one point in time, a quiet chat on critical piece of intelligence. Now, if you are going to get such intelligence, just imagine the level of connection, the high level of conversation that will have occurred for someone to be able to connect in such a way that you can later have a piece of critical intelligence. That is how you can have a good conversation. Also, in his book, Charles Duhigg describes 3 steps to connection. I actually recommend this book for you to read. Supercommunicators: How to Unlock the Secret Language of Connection. He expresses 3 steps to connection. Number 1 is to listen to what is said and unsaid. Number 2 is to ask questions. Number 3 is to recognize and match the mood of the person you are communicating with. If you are able to do these 3 steps, you will have good connection, and then you can have good conversation. Then I observed that God is the greatest conversationist. Throughout the scriptures, we see that the word of God came to Abraham. You will see that the word of God came to Isaac. The word of God came to Jacob. The word of God came to Moses, and so on and so forth. God is the greatest conversationist. And there are 2 points I want you to note in God's conversation. Number 1, when God communicates with you, he is concerned about people. I'd like you to read the book of Jonah from chapter 1 to chapter 4. It's a short read, but it's very interesting. The word of God came to Jonah, and he was told to move to Nineveh, to speak against Nineveh, that God is angry with the city. Immediately, Jonah left for Tarshish. Now, the reason Jonah left for Tarshish was because Jonah believed that after he has spoken about what God said about Nineveh, that God is going to change his mind if they ask for forgiveness of sins. And so, Jonah was not willing to go for that mission. To cut the long story short, Jonah went and he delivered the message. After he left the city, he sat afar off in the sun and was waiting for the judgment of God upon them. But the people of Nineveh, after hearing this, they fasted and prayed, and God changed his mind. He did not consume them. So God had mercy on them. So he came to Jonah where he was sitting under the sun, and God caused the plant to rise to be a shade upon his head. And when night fell, God sent a worm to destroy that same plant. And then Jonah had pity on the plant. Guess what God said to him? I read Jonah chapter 4 verse 10. And the Lord said, you pity the plant for which you did not labor, nor did you make it grow, which came into being in a night and perished in a night. And should not I pity Nineveh, that great city, in which there are more than 120,000 persons who do not know their right hand from their left, and also much cattle? So you see that God is always interested in people. So when you are coming to God for your conversation, what you call prayer, if all you bring to this conversation with God is what you will eat and what you will drink, then you are operating like a low-level Kedar eagle. But I'm challenging you to come to a higher level where you come to God and you have a conversation, and you have prayers, and you have intercession for people that God is concerned about. This is a high-level conversation with God. The second thing I want you to know about God, when he communicates, it seems as if he bypasses the need of the person he is communicating with and prioritizes the need of others over the person he is communicating with. I have various examples. Like Abraham. He came to Abraham and said, I will make you a father of many nations. Yet, Abraham had no child. What can I say about Moses? He was living in his father-in-law's house and he was rearing his flock. When God came to Moses, I would have thought that God will first of all establish him. But no, God said he has seen the affliction of his people in Egypt. So it seems as if God, in his communication, usually bypasses the person is communicating with, and he prioritizes the need of others over the person he is communicating with. But I can assure you that if God is communicating with you, he has your need settled already. So my point today is 10x your conversation with man and 10x your conversation with God. I believe you have been blessed by this message. Please subscribe, like, and share this video. Until I see you again, keep focusing on the bright side of life.